this is Pitchka Black here, and welcome to my Doctor Who book collection update for 2016. Now, you probably were expecting just an in-depth collection video on the Target novelisations. Well, I've changed my mind and instead I'm going to do a full collection update. The main reason why I am decided to do this instead of just an in-depth collection video on the Targets is because for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's going to provide a really good tease for my upcoming planned Skulls General Reviews month event for next year, and secondly, I'm considering going on an unconfirmably long hiatus so I can work privately on the Skulls General Reviews event month without any pressure on it, so I wouldn't have to make any videos and I'll just be able to focus on the Skulls General Reviews event month that I am currently working on. And I thought doing a complete Doctor Who book collection update will provide a very satisfactory and epic finale to this, to lead into my hiatus. So without further ado, let us begin with this collection update by starting to take a look at reprints. So up here we have a few random little Doctor Who books, some of the Facts Files, 100 Scariest Monsters, a random movie book, Doctor Who official sticker book, and a very outdated encyclopedia. Then next to this light up Christmas tree, which was made from a circuit board, we have my spare copy of Infinite Requiem. And then for actual sort of reprints and whatnot, we have 10 Little Aliens, Dreams of Empire, this is the 50th anniversary collection of which I have a complete set, Last of the Gathering, Festival of Death, Fear of the Dark, Players, Remembrance of the Daleks, Earthworld, Only Human, Beautiful Chaos, The Silent Stars Go By, and that's it for the 50th anniversary collection reprints. As I said, I do have a complete set. For the Monster collection, which I've only realistically just started collecting, I have Sting of the Zygons, and then we have Corpse Marker, Sands of Time, and then one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, Shakedown. And that's it for my Monster collection. For history reprints, we have the Witch Hunters, the Roundhead signed by Fraser Hines, and I think at the end of this video I'll show off every single autographed Doctor Who book and I'll just mention which ones are signed when showcasing off the entire collection. So there's my history reprint of the Roundhead signed by Fraser Hines. Amorality Tale, another one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time. This, I would highly recommend that one. The English Way of Death, Shadow on the Glass signed by Colin Baker, the first Doctor Who book I got signed in person. Human Nature, The Stone Rose, and Dead of Winter. And there is all of my 50th anniversary history collection and Monster collection reprints, of which I have a near complete collection of each range. I only need 4 more Monster collection reprints and I'll complete this section of my collection. And now we're moving on to what has changed most in my Doctor Who book collection since since April really, because I don't really consider my November book collection update to be a sort of a proper book collection update. It's more of an experiment in my opinion, that was. But since November, if you want to count that, the targets have grown massively. Since then I had 0 target hardbacks. I now have 20 of the bloody things, which is ridiculous. But anyways, on to the target novelisations. I will be going through these hardbacks here, 21 hardbacks actually, and then I'll be going through all of my paperbacks chronologically, as I like to keep my hardbacks separate, because if I was to have my Enlightenment hardback, for instance, it would just stick out in amongst my paperbacks. It would just stick out obnoxiously in between my Terminus and Foncios paperbacks. But anyways, on to my Target book collection. Starting off with what I like to nickname the Whoology of the Target books. The Target book, A History of the Target books by David J. Howe, signed by David J. Howe. The Edge of Destruction, and now we're moving on to regular Target hardbacks. We have The Edge of Destruction, Marco Polo, The Aztecs, a mint non-X library. All of my ones are X library unless I state otherwise. Crusaders, The Massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve, Celestial Toymaker, mint condition non-X library signed, well, very near mint condition non-X library signed by Peter Purvis. Tomb of the Cybermen X library signed by Deborah Watling, Fraser Hines and Jeff Cummins. Jeff Cummins being the person who did the illustration. Inferno, Mind of Evil, I think the rarest Target hardback in my collection, The Robots of Death. Not so the most expensive I don't think, but it is the rarest to appear on the internet. Horror of Fang Rock, Underworld, Invasion of Time, Stones of Blood, The Nightmare of Eden, Meglos, Snake Dance, Enlightenment, The King's Demons, and for the final Target hardback in my collection we have the king of all of them and the most valuable one, my Awakening hardback. Now this isn't necessarily the most rarest or most expensive Target hardback out there, like my Robots of Death one is rarer than this, but what makes mine the most valuable out of all of my Target hardbacks in my collection is not only the fact that this isn't an ex-library copy, it is signed by 11 people. On top of that, I managed to get this signed copy by 11 people for its average price, which was about £16.17 I do believe. And now we're going to be moving on to the Target paperbacks. The Target paperbacks, we have the Daleks reprint, the Daleks, Marco Polo, which you can just sit up there, Keys and Marinus, Sensorites, Planet of Giants, The Romans, Doctor Who and the Zarbi, Space Museum, Time Meddler, which is a really lazy cover art. This is basically the exact same as the original Target release of the Time Meddler, but the cover is just flipped or mirrored, which is very lazy but quite an interesting novelty at the same time. Galaxy 4 with one of my favourite Doctor Who Target novel covers. And then we have Star Classics 211 re-release, The Mythmakers and the Gunfighters. We have Mission to the Unknown, Daleks Master Plan Part 1, Mission to the Unknown, Daleks Master Plan Part 2, The Mutation of Time, The Ark, The Savages, 10th Planet, one of the very original 10th Planet paperback editions signed by Anarchy Willis. I mainly got this off of eBay for because I saw it for a bargain price, which was £4. Then we have the reprint version of that. Probably the rarest Target paperback in my collection. No, well, one of the rarest Target paperbacks in my collection. We'll get to that one in a minute. Power of the Daleks, would love to get Evil. Evil went down to 16 quid a little while ago on Amazon, and now it's back up to 50-65 quid, which I am really pissed off about. I really wish I'd bought one. Cybermen, or Moonbase, rarest Target paperback in my collection I do believe. The Macro Terror, believe it or not I got this for only 50p along with 13 other Target books for 50p each. Faceless Ones, Abominable Snowmen, Ice Warriors, Web of Fear 2016 reprint signed by Terrence Dix and Chris Archelios. Another one of the rarest Target paperbacks in my collection, Fury from the Deep. And then we have two copies of The Invasion, one of which is a first edition paperback, another one is a later edition of the paperbacks. We have The Auton Invasion, The Cave Monsters, Ambassadors of Death signed by Derek Ware, The Daemons, Dave the Daleks, Curse of Peladon, The Mutants, The Three Doctors, Planet of Spiders, The Giant Robot, The Ark in Space, Pyramids of Mars, which I found in a charity shop for 20p. Really happy with that. The Mask of Mandragora. Then we have The Face of Evil, Talons of Wing Chiang Virgin reprint, and the original Target edition. Invisible Emily, which I would highly recommend. Probably one of the best Target books you can ever get. Image of the Fendown. Armageddon Factor, massive guilty pleasure right here. Underworld, I've read this twice and read the hardback once, read the paperback once as well. I would highly recommend this. I have reviewed it quite a while ago. Sunmakers, which I do plan to review. Creature from the Pit, Megaloss paperback. Leisure Hive, Warrior's Gate, my favourite out of the East-based trilogy. Keeper of Traken, another one of my favourites. Another one of my favourite Tom Baker stories actually. Not that Warrior's Gate is one of my favourite Tom Baker stories, period. It just happens that Keeper of Traken is one of my favourite Tom Baker stories. Another one of my favourite Tom Baker stories, Logopolis. Quite odd that I like that one, I'm not 100% sure why, I think I need to rewatch it. Castrovalva, Black Orchid, The Visitation, a very faded spined Kinder, Mordrin Undead, which I'm still reading, which I do plan to review along with this one, Terminus. Frontios, The Two Doctors, Delta and the Bannerman, or Delta and the Banana Men, Greatest Show in the Galaxy, Silver Nemesis, Mission to Magnus, Slipback, and Paradise of Death. Now we're moving on to Virgin New Adventures. Up here we have a random new series collection box set, 2 of those. Decalogue 2 as well. Just gonna move these as well, just down to here. Just stuff those back there. Anyways, on to the Virgin New Adventures, of which I have quite a few actually. Time Villain Genesis, Exodus, Apocalypse, and Revelation. Cat's Cradle, we have Time's Crucible, Warhead, and Witchmark. Then we have Love and War, The Highest Science, which, if any Doctor Who story sounds like it deals with drugs, it's this one. The Pit, my favourite Doctor Who book of all time, Falls to Shadow. I cannot recommend that one enough. It's a very different Doctor Who novel. Basically, a combination of the Seeds of Doom, The Mind Robber, and Castrovalva, which sounds absolutely bonkers, but somehow Daniel O'Mahony manages to make it work. Deceit, Lucifer Rising, which I've still not yet finished, even though I did start it about a year and a half ago. White Darkness, Blood Heat, First Frontier, Toy Soldiers, War Child, Tragedy Day, Blood Harvest, Parasite, Warlock, Set Piece, my main copy of Infinite Requiem, Original Sin, Sky Pirates, The Also People, Christmas on a Rational Planet, Return of the Living Dad, The Death of Art, Damaged Goods, Bad Therapy, The Room with No Doors, The King of All Virgin New Adventures, Lungbarrow, which is an original copy, and then we have the most embarrassingly written Doctor Who book I think there is in existence, The Dying Days. If you want more clarification on this book, watch my review of it, but just to be warned, it is a very, very, very vulgar review. Virgin Missing Adventures, PDAs and EDAs. So we have Goth Opera, Evolution, Venusian Lullaby, another one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, The Romance of Crime, System Shock, Invasion of the Cat People, the first Doctor Who book to actually piss me off, Millennial Rights. You have no idea how badly that book pissed me off. Dancing the Code, Steve Lyons is The Time of Your Life, and then called the book Steve Lyons. I don't know why. The Man in the Velvet Mask. Crazy thing, where I actually bought my Planet of Giants Target paperback at Dimensions, believe it or not, the stall runner was actually ran by Steve Lyons himself, and none of us knew, or me, Isaac, Cameron and Mondasian didn't know that it was Steve Lyons at all. So yeah, I bought my Planet of Giants paperback from Steve Lyons, which is extremely odd. The Man in the Velvet Mask, The Plotters, the king of my Doctor Who book collection, Times Champion by Craig Hinton and Chris McKayon, signed by Colin Baker. The Devil Goblins from Neptune. The Devil Goblins from Neptune again. Business Unusual, signed by Gary Russell. The Witch Hunters, signed by Steve Lyons. Last Man Running by Chris Boucher. The Hollowmen. Deep Blue. Storm Harvest. The Inferno of the First Doctor's era, or basically Inferno before Inferno existed, if you like to put it like that, if you wanted to be chronological with continuity. City at World's End by Callisto Fabulis. One of my favourite Doctor Who book covers right here, Primetime. Bunker Soldier, which I suspect has Mordrin from Mordrin Undead because of the sort of face peeling away to reveal sort of a lizard man on the front. Asylum, Byzantium. Science fiction, my first ever, I guess you should say, non-target Doctor Who book that I read. Instruments of Darkness, which I believe is the only PDA to feature Evelyn Smythe. I believe this is because it was confirmed at this point that the BBC would not be renewing the PDA range, so they just didn't bother to feature Evelyn in any more books, or simply because they lost the rights. I am not quite sure. Combat Rock by the infamous Mick Lewis. The Algebra of Ice. Spiral Scratch, signed by Gary Russell. The Colony of Lies, one of the most underwhelming Doctor Who books I've ever read. The 11th Tiger, which I would practically recommend to nobody, even though I give it a 7 out of 10. And then the penultimate PDA out of them all, The Time Travellers. And then we have this sad, lonely, deserted copy of War of the Daleks. Don't worry, you get reunited with EDAs. For EDAs, we have The Scarlet Empress, Dreamstone Moon, another one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, Seeing Eye. The hugely overrated Placebo Effect. Pretty good plot overall, but was bogged down by 7 huge problems, or 7 either minor or huge problems. I cannot remember them all. But it was nice to see this SSS security space agents from Master Plan all over again. Another quite an overrated EDA right here in my personal opinion, The Face Eater. Autumn Mist. Interference Book 1, Shock Tactic. Interference Book 2, The Hour of the Geek. Frontier Worlds. Unnatural History. Planet Parallel 59. City of the Dead. Time Zero. The Domino Effect. Actually, another one of my favourite Doctor Who books right here, Mad Dogs and Englishmen. I'm not sure if this would make it onto my top 10, but it's definitely worthy of an honourable mention. Some sort of, I guess you would say, random Doctor Who books. So we have, up here, the Emperor of my Doctor Who book collection. Tellus Publishing, Talkback, the 60s, signed and numbered, limited edition by Stephen James Walker. Mine is number 9 out of 200. Extremely proud to own this Doctor Who book. Only 200 of these exist in the world, and I managed to get it for 15 quid, so cannot argue there. It would be great to own these 70s and 80s ones as well, but I highly doubt that will ever happen. Complete History, Volume 1, 100,000 BC and the Mutants, aka the Daleks. Volume 3, The Complete History, Sensorites, Reign of Terror, Planet of Giants. Volume 8, Savages, War Machine, Smugglers, 10th Planet. Volume 17, Colony in Space, The Daemons, Day of the Daleks. Complete History, Volume 22, Robot, Ark in Space and Sontaran Experiment. 51, The Christmas Invasion, New Earth, Tooth and Claw. 55, Gridlock, Daleks in Manhattan, Evolution of the Daleks, Lazarus Experiment, and 42. 71, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, A Town Called Mercy, and the Power of Three. Quite a tightly packed one here. Volume 76, Deep Breath and Into the Dalek. Into the Dalek, probably the most kinkiest name for a Doctor Who story ever. And then here we have all sorts of random annuals that I won't bother going into. I practically have nearly all of the storybooks that have been released. Pretty much all of the new series annuals and some various classic series annuals. Main highlights being up here, being my 1965 annual. And then down here we have a few more sort of miscellaneous Doctor Who books. The Doctor's Who's Who, hardback and paperback. Which looking at this right here, I thought this was campaigned for a minute, and I was like, holy shit, I have campaign in my collection, but nope, I don't. I wish I did. I wish this was campaign instead. The Book of Lists, The Doctor Who's Trivia Buff's Essential Companion by Justin Richards and Andrew Martin. Doctor Who, The Episode Guide by Mark Campbell, and the updated version of that. These two being my favourite, probably my favourite non-fiction Doctor Who books of this, probably being my favourite non-fiction Doctor Who book of all time. It's absolutely incredible. I cannot recommend that one enough. Harvest of Time by Alistair Reynolds. Handbook 4th Doctor. Who's Next? Basically this, but pre-new series. Quiz book. Well, all four of them. Quiz book 2, 3 and 4. And I've got another quiz book somewhere actually, so that's not all of them. Time Lord Fairy Tales. Whoology. And then we have a bunch of script books. Now, I was going to do an Underworld update on these script books and a big unboxing of them, but unfortunately that wasn't a really good Underworld update, so I decided to scrap it. But I got all 7 of these script books in a bundle off of eBay for 20 quid. These script books are The Tribe of Gum, aka An Unearthly Child, The Daleks, probably the rarest script book you can get, Masters of Luxor, Crusade, Galaxy 4, Power of the Daleks, the other rarest script book you can get, and then The Daemons. And then down here behind my Doctor Who autograph file we have other Doctor Who bits and pieces. We have The Ultimate Monster Guide, A History in the Universe in 100 Objects, Cyberman magazine from DWM, and then we have more random Doctor Who books. And down here as well we have PDAs of Dying in the Sun, Murder Game, Salvation, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Final Sanction and World Game. And then down here we have all of my most of my short story collections and my Big Finish script books and my Big Finish books in general. Good grief, Big Finish have books, it's a fucking miracle. We have Beneath Summerfield short story compilation, Life During War, signed by Robert Shearman. Short stories, number 2, we have Companions. Number 3, A Universe of Terrors. Number 5, Steel Skies. Number 7, Life Science. Number 8, Repercussions. 2040, which is number 10. Number 12, 7 Deadly Sins. Number 13, A Day in the Life. Then we have Audio Scripts, Volume 1, Volume 2, and then Volume 4, which is a fat book. And then on the end here we have the recently released short story compilation, which I think is going to become one of the rarest Doctor Who books in my collection. Time Shadows, signed by Stephen Hatcher. Continuing the trend of random books, we have Sarah Jane Adventures, Revenge of the Slitheen, The Eye of the Gorgon, and Warriors of Kulak. spare copy of Cat's Cradle Witchmark, Lethbridge Stewart, The Forgotten Son, and Schizoid Earth. We have Chop Trump's Doctor Who book, which I decided to pick up in a charity shop for some reason. Fat lot good that is. Apollo 23 paperback, Crisis in Space, Make Your Own Adventure, Doctor Who Crisis in Space, probably the most obscure Doctor Who book in my entire collection. Decide Your Destiny, The Spaceship Graveyard. Next up we have Growing Pains, Billy Piper. Again, I don't quite know why I decided to pick this up. Maybe because I'm just a sad fuck that likes Billy Piper for some reason. 12 Doctors, 12 Stories. Who on earth is all of the books showcased in this room and this section of my collection? It is time to move on to the other section of my Doctor Who book collection, which as a matter of fact is in this. It's gone so large to the point where it's 2 rooms. Yeah, I've got a lot of Doctor Who books. So, yeah, let's begin. New series. We have the monster, the Clockwise Man, the Monsters Inside, Winner Takes All, the Divine Strain, Only Human, the Stealers of Dreams, paperback and hardback, Stone Rose, Feast of the Drowned, a train of Doctor Who books, Resurrection Casket, paperback and hardback, Nightmare of Black Island, The Art of Destruction, Price of Paradise, Sting of the Zygons, The Last Dodo, Wooden Heart. Another train of Doctor Who books which nearly fell over. Feral Autumn, Sick Bullshit, Wet World, Wishing Well, Pirate Loop, Peacemaker, paperback version of that, Martha and the Mirror, Shining Darkness, Ghosts of India, and then the story of Martha at the end here. Then moving on to all of these other new series books, we have, oh boy, paperback of The Taking of Chelsea 426, Beetle Chaos paperback, The Eyeless paperback, Sleeping Excursion hardback, Prison of the Daleks, Taking of Chelsea 426 hardback, Autonomy, Krillitane Storm, Apollo 23, Night of the Humans, The Forgotten Army, Nuclear Time, The King's Demons, The Glamour Chase, Hunter's Moon, and this thing, The Way Through the Woods. For down here we have The Darksmith Legacy, The Dust of Ages, Graves of Mordain, Colour of Darkness, The Depths of Despair, The Vampire of Paris, one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, The Game of Death. And yes, I did start reading the entire Darksmith Legacy. Only got up to book 6, then I decided to take a break from the Darksmith Legacy and never came back to it. So I've only read these 6 out of the Darksmith Legacy so far. But so far this series has been pretty good. This Game of Death being one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, even though the beginning is a bit childish. Planets of Oblivion, The Pictures of Emptiness, The Art of War, and The End of Time. For other shortish new series books, we have I'm a Dalek, quick read, which wants to go somewhere else. You stay there. Revenge of the Jadoon, The Sontaran Games, Made of Steel, Revenge of the Jadoon, again, small print and large print, Sontaran Games, Code of the Krillitanes, Slewing Gift, and Magic of the Angel. Short Doctor Who books, we have System Wipe, Death Riders, The Spaceship Graveyard, Alien Arena, The Time Crocodile, The Corinthian Project, and The Crystal Snare. For the start of Peter Capaldi, new series books, we have The Calling Terror, Silhouette, The Blood Cell, Royal Blood, one of the worst books I've ever read, and then Big Bang Doctor Who book collection, we have the official quiz book, Coming of the Terrifiers, The Divine Straining, and Winner Takes All down here. Then for up here we have Deep Time, The Legends of the Shielder, The Legends of River Song, another one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, Shada, City of Death, the worst Doctor Who book I have ever tried to read, the worst Fourth Doctor story, the worst Doctor Who story ever, the worst classic series story, and by far and beyond the worst piece of media I have ever tried to experience, The Drostan's Curse. Please avoid that. A while ago on Amazon I saw copies of this listed, signed by the author, for 50 quid. As you could expect, I was thoroughly disgusted. Coming of the Terrifiers, The Sun and Stars Go By, Dark Horizons, Engines of War, none of my favourite Doctor Who books. None of my favourite Doctor Who books right here, In the Blood, which I have reviewed on Pitch Skull White. Do check that out if you're interested in a review of that. Then above my Tortured books we have Death Riders, a really tatty Night Inhumans hardback, Factory Sealed Collection 2013 box set containing Hunter's Moon, Dead of Winter, and The Way Through the Woods paperbacks. Then we have Skypoint, Consequences, The Undertaker's Gift, onto the Tortured books now, as you can see. Almost Perfect, Trace Memory, Pack Animals, Another Life, 50 Years, The Essential Guide, The Official Annual 2016, Aliens and Enemies, Creatures and Demons, The Monsters and Villains, Starships and Space Stations, The Encyclopedia, signed by my auntie and my uncle, believe it or not, because what happened was they actually wrote inside this Doctor Who book, they wrote inside it because this was a gift to my brother originally, but he didn't want it anymore, so he gave it to me. So it's signed by my auntie and uncle, which is extremely odd. The inside story, for whatever reason, I saw one of these on eBay a while ago, signed by Anarchy Willis. Why the fuck somebody would get this signed by Anarchy Willis, I have no clue. Really good, really nice looking Doctor Who book right here, The Secret Lives of Monsters. Doctor Who 8th Doctor graphic novel, Oblivion. And then for the final Doctor Who book I will showcase in this collection update, The Time Traveller's Guide by Peter. Now on to my signed Doctor Who books in my collection. So for the signed books we have Ambassadors of Death paperback, signed by Derek Martin. I think I said Derek Ware earlier on, but that's completely and utterly incorrect, as I have just proven. Weather Fear 2016 Target reprint, signed by Chris Archelios and Terence Dix. 10th Planet Target, signed by Anarchy Willis. Awakening hardback, signed by Various. So we've got first 3 autographs there. E. Jill Wells, Colin Howard, David Banks, Gary Russell, John Nathan Turner, Terence Dix, Peter Halliday, Peter Miles, John Levine, John Scott Martin, and Brian Clegg. 11 people overall. My camera's battery cuts for me there, but well, let's continue looking at the signed books. Children of the Cybermen, W.H. Allen hardback, signed by Deborah Watling, Fraser Hines, and Jeff Cummins. Celestial Toymaker hardback, Non-X Library, mint condition, near mint, or very near mint, signed by Peter Purvis. Just put this down here. Shadow in the Glass History Collection reprint, signed by Colin Baker. History Collection reprint of The Roundheads, signed by Fraser Hines.
Time Shadows, signed by Stephen Hatcher, one of the authors from this short story anthology. Life During Wartime, signed by Robert Sherman, again one of the writers in this anthology. He did the story, let me just have a quick check here for you. He did the story Meanwhile, with 3 dots at the end of it. My ultra rare 200 copies only in the world, talk about the 60s limited edition volume, signed and numbered by Stephen James Walker. Spiral Scratch, signed by Gary Russell. Business Unusual, signed by Gary Russell. And finally, the king of my collection, Times Champion, signed by Colin Baker. Since my last proper Doctor Who book collection update, which was back in April of 2015, my book collection has grown considerably. I've been able to obtain some of the rarest Doctor Who books out there. I've even got what I like to nickname a little royal family in my book collection. The knight of my collection, Longbarrow. The prince of my collection, Time Shadows. The king of my collection, Times Champion. And of course, the emperor of my collection, Talkback Volume 1, the 60s, signed and numbered limited edition hardback. And that's it, guys. That's my Doctor Who book collection update for 2016. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pitch Gold Black, dematerializing.